Welcome, fitness friends. Are you better off running or walking when it comes to burning the most amount of body fat? You know, people ask me that all the time. Mike, should I run? Should I walk? How can I burn the most amount of fat? By the end of this video, you're going to have a detailed explanation of exactly what's going on within your body. When are you burning fats? When are you burning carbohydrates when you're running or walking? Now, if you're new to my channel, and if you don't know who I am, my name is 𝙒𝘼𝙏𝙏. I've been a fitness trainer and gym owner for over 30 years. I've helped thousands of people lose weight and just get into fantastic shape. Most people are pretty surprised when I tell them that you burn the same amount of calories when you're running 6 miles as opposed to walking 6 miles. But when you're walking, it just takes you twice as long. Like for example, when you're running 6 miles at say a 10-minute mile pace, which is 6 miles per hour, it'll take you 1 hour to run 6 miles. But when you're walking, say at half the speed at 3 miles per hour, it'll take you 2 hours to cover 6 miles. So it takes you twice as long, but the calories burned are pretty much the same. But what is different is that when you're walking at a lower exercise intensity, you're burning a greater percentage of fat calories. When the intensity increases, like when you're running, you're burning a greater percentage of carbohydrate calories. Now, to understand these concepts a little better, let's go over to the next slide where we'll cover energy systems. Now, there are 3 different energy systems, but what you first have to understand is that all muscle contraction is fueled by ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Now, within this first energy system, the body, the muscles themselves can store maybe 5 to 7 seconds worth of ATP directly within the muscle cell itself. So for example, if you're lifting up something heavy and it only is like a 5 to 7 second lift, you're going to be using up the stored ATP within the muscle. But if you're straining, if you're exerting yourself and it's lasting beyond 7 seconds, say up to 30 seconds, then you're going to be switching over to ATP with CP, with creatine phosphate. See, this is what happens. When you use up that 5 to 7 seconds worth of stored ATP, you're left with ADP, adenosine diphosphate. Now, ADP has to pick up a phosphate molecule from the creatine to make ATP, and that lasts for about 30 seconds or so. So for example, let's say you're lifting something heavy and it's lasting maybe 20, 30 seconds, you're going to be using up that creatine to make ATP. That's where you may have heard like bodybuilders, like football players and strength athletes, like taking creatine as a supplement. They want to store more creatine within the muscle cell so they can make ATP easier without switching over to the next energy system, which is the glycolytic system. Now, the second energy system is the glycolytic system. This is glycolysis. This is when you're using carbohydrates to make ATP to fuel muscle contraction. And this system lasts anywhere between that 30-second to maybe 2 or 3 minutes of exertion. So for example, let's say you start jogging. Initially, first you just burn up quickly that stored ATP in the muscle, 5 to 7 seconds. Now up to like the next 30 seconds, you're using creatine to help make ATP. But now when you go from 30 seconds, say up to 2 or 3 minutes, you're in glycolysis. You're using carbohydrates to make ATP to fuel muscle contraction. See, it all has to do with exercise intensity. When the intensity is up, is higher. You're using, it's without the presence of oxygen. You're using carbohydrates to make ATP. Now, the third energy system is the oxidative system. This is like the aerobic system. This is when oxygen is present. Now, you're burning fat, you're burning some carbohydrates, but exercise intensity is low enough that you can make ATP from fat with the presence of oxygen. This is why when you're walking, you're burning a greater percentage of fat calories. See, it all has to do with exercise intensity. When the exercise intensity is relatively low, you're burning fat with oxygen, some carbohydrates too, but the percent of fat calories burnt will be much greater when you're, say, walking at lower exercise intensities as opposed to running. See, when you're running, you're more in that glycolysis phase, but it really has to do with a number of other factors, like how fit you are, also the type of diet you're eating. And we're gonna talk about that in the next slide. Now, your fitness level and your diet will also determine how much fat you're burning when you're walking or running. Okay, for example, if you're like a really fit person, say you have a high VO2 max. See, VO2 max stands for your maximum oxygen consumption. When someone is like really aerobically fit, they're in amazing shape, they have a high VO2 max. That means that all the systems that deliver oxygen within their body is enhanced, right? There's more capillaries in the lungs, more mitochondria. They can work out at higher exercise intensities than, say, someone else. So look at it like this. If they're running at 6 miles per hour, their heart rate is not going to be that high. It's not going to be that difficult for them. So they're going to be more in their aerobic zone. They're going to be more in that third energy system. They're going to be burning a great percent of fat calories, as opposed to someone who's out of shape, who's running at 6 miles per hour. That person is going to have a very high heart rate. They're going to be more in glycolysis. They're going to be more burning carbohydrates. So your fitness level also will determine whether you're burning fat or carbohydrates when you're running or when you're walking. Now, another thing to consider is the type of diet you're eating. For example, if you're a real carb burner, if you're eating a high carbohydrate diet and your whole body, your whole metabolism hormonally, you're used to burning carbohydrates, you're like a sugar burner, you're always going to burn a greater percentage of carbohydrates when you're exercising, even when you're walking. Even when you're walking in that aerobic zone, if your body is so used to fueling with carbohydrates, you will probably burn more carbohydrates than someone who is more fat adapted. What I mean by fat adapted is people like myself who eat like a high fat, like low carbohydrate type diet. We're fat burners. So someone like myself, if I'm walking at like a comfortable pace, say I'm walking at 3.5 miles per hour, and I'm walking next to someone like my same height, same weight, say my twin, but my twin, who's genetically the same, is a big carbohydrate eater. He will be burning more carbohydrates, percentage of carbohydrates, than I will be because I'm a fat burner. So another way to actually burn more fat when you're exercising is actually to be more fat adapted. Okay, so besides being aerobically fit, it's also good to eat more of a higher fat, low carb type diet. Now that you understand energy systems and you understand like diet and fitness level are factors as well, like what should you do? Should you walk or should you run to burn more body fat? And I think you should really do a combination of both. So you do want to do some type of higher intensity type exercise to increase your VO2 max, to be in really good aerobic shape. But you also want to do some low level type of aerobic exercise, like easy walks to build that aerobic base and to train that fat burning oxidative system. So I really would do a combination of both. I can't really say that one's better than the other. Yes, when you're walking, you're burning a greater percentage of fat calories, but total calories burnt for the same amount of time exercising will be less. So you really have to do a combination of both. Now, I know I didn't give you a definitive answer of whether running or walking is better for burning fat, but the bigger picture is you really have to control your weight with your diet and not with exercise. See, when you're exercising, you want to create a response, meaning that you want to increase your muscle mass. You want to make your cardiovascular system stronger, like increase your VO2 max. You want to become more flexible, more mobile. You want to shape and condition your body. You don't necessarily want to exercise just to burn calories. If you want to burn body fat, if you want to lose weight, you're much better off doing it with diet. And my favorite diet is a low-carb, high-fat, whole natural food diet with adequate amounts of protein. And I'm also a big believer in intermittent fasting. Now, if you want to learn more about my approach to eating, check out this playlist of videos right above me.